In 2008, Puja Guruji had given a talk in Northwest Indiana with the title being, Life is a Gift, Living in Art. And during this talk, he was sharing that to be able to live artfully, one needs to know that life is a gift. And he elaborated that just because I have, as an example, just because I have a violin doesn't mean I'm a violin player. Just because I have a tabla doesn't mean make me a tabla player. Just because I have life doesn't make me a liver of that life. Biologically, I may be functioning, but am I making use of that life? Am I tuning into the purpose of that life? This is why in Tips for Happy Living, Guruji shares, many of us live like we're not going to die, and so many of us die like we never lived. It's only when we know that life is a gift do we start to live. To truly live, we all need to know that we are divine. Our scriptures are teaching this, logic is teaching this, experience is teaching this as well. Swami Vivekananda has very powerfully stated that we are sons and daughters of the rishis. We are not sons and daughters of our parents only. Their parents are grandparents, and one keeps on going till the origination was the rishis, the Guru Parampara. That's why when asked what our gotra is, we say Vishwamitra, Vasishta, whoever it is, Chinmaya. Those are our parents. So how can we be less than that, than those great rishis, those seers? To help us realize who we are, our rishis have put into place the samskaras. Samskara means acted upon well. What is acted upon well? Every stage of life has to be acted upon well. That's why there's 41 samskaras, because every stage should be guided. Nothing should be haphazard. Almost like the mile markers when one drives. There's those perpetual signs saying, you're going in this direction, you're going in this direction. The samskaras are the same way. In inventory systems, for those who are involved with logistics or operations, there's two accounting methods to track inventory. It's called LIFO or FIFO. LIFO is last in, first out. FIFO is first in, first out. Now, if we think about it from the perspective of our own day-to-day affairs, if garbage goes in, garbage is going to come out whether it's first or last. If nobility goes in, nobility is going to come out whether it goes first or last. That's the logic behind why every samskara is infused with satsang, with that association with the truth, that connection to that which is positive. Where there is no samskaras, there is vikara. And vikara means agitation, frustration. And how true it is. Those people who lack culture, even in the day-to-day affairs, they're more rattled by the world than those who have some element of culture. There's a famous Sanskrit subhashitam that says, that parent which doesn't teach the child samskaras is an enemy of that child. What a powerful statement. And the reason is that I've brought this child into the world, but I've not taught them how to deal with the world, how to manipulate the world, how to be in the world. It's no different than us saying, condoning teenage pregnancy. If a young girl or a young boy doesn't know how to take care of themselves, how in the world can they take care of another being? So that parent has essentially brought this precious entity into life, but has not given that entity tools on how to survive then. Hence the saying that that parent is an enemy of that child. The means to uncovering the peace that is our nature is satsang, is samskara. This is what we're studying. And the beautiful aspect of this whole 16 samskaras is that all of life is being infused with this. When we're not even born, when we are born, when we start to eat, the length of our hair, how old we are, when we get married, and so on and so forth. And we need this now more than ever because we're so busy. Who has the time to go to satsang? So what our rishis have done is they've brought satsang to us. Again, I want to highlight the greatness of Chinmaya Mission in this regard. Some organizations, their teachers will not go to people's homes. You have to go to the ashram or the center to meet those teachers. But our acharyas, they go everywhere. They go to public schools, they go to high schools, they go to universities, everywhere. Because if people aren't going to come, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be allowed to learn how to be happier. Let's go to them then. This is the whole premise of spirituality in media, or Vedanta in action. Find Vedanta, find spirituality in everything one does. When I have that vision, then I don't need to go anywhere because my own life is a teaching then. So those who are always saying, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, these samskaras are more important then. A spiritual person doesn't do different things, they do things differently. They do the same things, but with a different perspective. I was sharing today during Bhiksha, the home I was staying in Portland, after I finished my meal, then I would go upstairs and wash my hand, because that's where my room was. And one day as I was walking up the stairs, they had a child in their home, a baby. And he looks to his mom and says, and I only overheard this, he goes, why does he always leave his plate on the table? Right? Because the mother is teaching the child, hey, put your plate away. And then here I am just leaving my table. But perspective, right? The parents are looking forward to offering that service, and the child doesn't know. It says, that person's lazy. And I was teaching Hanuman Chalisa in Portland, holistic development. And when one of our teachers teaches Superman, Hanuman the Superman, which is our grade 2 curriculum, it talks about how much Hanumanji serves Lord Rama. So one student said, it seems like Lord Rama is really lazy. It seems like Hanumanji did all the work for Lord Rama. Perspective, right? But the real meaning behind that is that Lord Rama gave everyone opportunities to serve the divine. But it's just perspective. That's all that separates Hanumanji from being Lord Rama from being lazy, Lord Rama being the divine. It's what way we're looking at this. Yesterday we studied the first samskara, which was Garbha Danam. And the highlight of this samskara is the discipline in which this samskara is initiated. That invocation of a child, invoking that desire. No different than how we invoke Gurudev. How we do our Shanti mantra to invoke peace here, with discipline. It's not people are wandering around and so on. Everyone's sitting down, eyes are closed. Discipline. It's based on attraction, not lust. Then we studied Pumsavana, which is when the food sheath and the air sheath, the Annamaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha, are coming into being. And the highlight of this samskara is that our rishis knew when this was all happening without the scientific equipment we now have. They didn't have ultrasounds many thousand years ago, but they knew this was happening. The subtlety of their mind is unprecedented. They knew all of this was happening. Then we studied Simanto Nayana, where the husband comes with the porcupine quill, parts some mother's hair. The message here is that the couple has to have a united front. Even now, a psychologist will say, if you're going to argue in the bedroom, not in the home, in front of the child. Because children pick up everything. They know. In Columbus, I was teaching a Balavera class, and this one Balavera student was so antsy that he was facing me, and midway through the class, he had turned around so much he was facing the opposite way. So here I am teaching to the back of his head. And I, in a frustrated fashion, said, "What is the answer to this?" And he gently turns around, looks at me straight in the eye, and gives me the answer that I asked him of. And then follows up and says, "Vivekji, did you think I wasn't listening?" So kids absorb all, so have a united front. Have the discussions in the bedroom, and then united front in front of one's child. That's what Simanto Nayana is. Husband, take care of the wife. Wife, take care of the wife, of yourself, for the child's sake. That's the idea. Then our fourth samskara was Jata Karma. And Jata Karma is a hybrid samskara. It's partly prenatal, partly childhood. The umbilical cord is still attached. The father comes and feeds the child. So the father's feeding the child, the mother's still feeding the child too, symbolically still feeding the child. So it's a hybrid samskara. And that father is saying, "May your life be wonderful." That's what the symbolism is in feeding. And what's awesome about this is that every samskara is looking in the long term, not in the short term. May your life be wonderful, all of your experience, sweet, strong, serene. That long-term vision. Our rishis had that vision, which is why Ram Raja actually existed. Ram Raja is when there's material prosperity and spiritual prosperity. Now, where is that happening? Either one is spiritual and poor or rich and unhappy. That balance is not there, and part of it is that short-term vision. I shared this, who knows if I shared it here. The heaviest country in the world is USA. Number 2 is Canada, okay? So we're partners in this. We have some pediatricians who come to our Gita discourses. And they had a big convention in Toronto last year. And I asked them, "What did you discuss at this convention? I'm very curious about your work." And they were saying that obesity is now at an epidemic. 1/3 of American children are obese. And so obese means end of the spectrum, meaning that's a disease now. Not you're overweight, now, hey, you're not looking so good. It's you're sick. This is a disease now. So when coming up with cures or remedies for this disease, some people said, pull out junk food. But many schools don't have. They've already pulled out the junk food. Where we had our Balavera camp, I was noticing the vending machines and the pot machines, it's mostly juice and healthy chips and so on and so forth, but it's not Twinkies and sugar pies and so on. They should impose mandatory fitness tests, but they already do that too. I went to school 20 years ago and I had fitness tests. Now they're exploring yoga and meditation in schools. What they're finding is that children, and it's so sad to hear this, and this is why what I shared yesterday is get realized and get out. They're finding that kids are unhappy. And because they're unhappy, what is their immediate source of joy? Going to McDonald's, going to Kentucky Fried Chicken. After having a quick meal, I'm satisfied. Then I go to 7-Eleven, buy a chocolate bar or a Slurpee. And this just keeps going because that's where my source of happiness is. But it's a short-term thought, empty calories. But if the long-term vision is there, now they're thinking, let's explore yoga and meditation. Let's calm the body down. Let's calm the mind down. Let's bring back people's health. It's holistic. The word yoga means to unite. It's not yoga asana only. Yoga is never complete without meditation. And shavasana is not meditation. Shavasana is sleeping. So that meditation has to be there where I take my relaxed body and now I have to unite it with my mind. That has to be relaxed too. For those who came to meditation, we'll explore that more. Identify with the body, relax the body, let go of the body. Identify with the breath, relax the breath, let go of the breath. And keep on going. This janta karma, the vision is be healthy in body, mind, and intellect. Long term, not short term. And our last samskara we studied yesterday was namakarana. And namakarana is a rishi understanding that a name controls the mind. I gave some examples yesterday, I'll give some more. Amitabh Bachchan. Now, thoughts are there. You know, Kaun Banayega Crorepati and so on and so forth. Mind goes there. We'll use a more modern example. Selena Gomez, right? The mind goes there. All the older people think, hey, Selena Gomez. And all the younger people, Amitabh Bachchan, right? But that's where the mind goes, because that name controls the mind. So if a name is going to control the mind, I want my mind to be controlled by the divine. So I take up a divine name. A divine name like Shivam. Shivam is a beautiful name. And whenever I think of Shivam, and this is just the chain reaction, when Shivam is not with me, then what happens to me? I become Shava. Isn't it true? When Lord Shiva leaves this, I become a corpse. Shava means corpse. So that's how the mind gets pulled in whatever direction. So knowing that, I need to make sure I'm always calling out the divine, and it helps me realize that that child is the Lord, is divine. And we'll explore that more later today. My nephew was born while I was studying in the Vedanta course. And two fascinating experiences happened because of that. The first was we were studying Vishnu Sahasranama when my sister was to give birth to her child. So every day when we would study those names, I made a huge list of names to give to my sister, that these are potential names for your son. And it was going to be a boy. And so I was very proud. I was like, I can't wait till she picks one of these names. They're all so beautiful. They mean so much. And then she chose Sean, which is half of her name and half of her husband's name, Tarun. Vishnu Sahasranama is embodiments of Brahman. Every word leads to Brahman, but these 1,000 names are almost like a catalyst to realizing Brahman. Swami Ishananda was once asked, if God is everywhere, why go to the temple? Why go to the ashram, right? And he said, when you're hot, air is everywhere too, but why do you stand in front of the fan? Why do you stand in front of the air conditioner, right? You need that concentrated form to realize those blessings. The second fascinating experience with the birth of my nephew was, the first time I saw him was at an airport, and he was already 2 years old at this point. And it's fascinating to see another being, only through hearing about them and then actually seeing that being manifested. And that's why rishis, rishi means seer, S-E-E-R, the seers, that they not only heard about the greatness of Bhagavan, they actually saw Bhagavan. Whether it's Tulsidas Ji or Swami Shivananda, all of our great Maharashtrian saints, all of them saw Bhagavan, not just heard Bhagavan. It's possible. We can have this possibility too, if we choose to. So don't think that, okay, now I've given my child's name, not associated with Bhagavan, then you should change the child's name. Okay, that will be worse for the child and worse for you. Just associate the quality of Bhagavan with the child then. A lot of people think, how does Gurudev and how do Guruji always remember everyone's names? There's 2 reasons why they remember everyone's names. 3 reasons, actually. Number 1 is because they love everyone. And anyone we love, anything we love, we remember. When we watch a movie we love, we remember who's in it and what happened. When we watch a movie we don't love, what movie? Who was in it? What story? So they genuinely love everyone. Number 2 is that they genuinely live in the moment. Not just market it, live in the moment, right? Everyone says live in the moment. Who lives in the moment? We're doing a workshop on the game of life. And in a game, there's 4 parts. There's the purpose, Then are any of the students here? Field, good. Then players and rules. So purpose, field, players, rules. So their assignment was come up with rules on how to play the game of life. So one person said, lots of rules are being shared, and finally says, you just have to live in the moment. I said, really? For 1 minute, I want everyone in the room to live in the moment. But every time that your mind is not in the moment, you have to put a finger up. Okay? So let's see how much one lives in the moment. So I started timing it. And then I started talking about Super Bowl's on tomorrow, how your school was, and fingers just started popping up. It's not just about marketing. Our masters actually live what is marketed. So they hear it, they remember it. And the third, and this is more of a business school technique, is they associate a name with something else. That's how they remember, how one remembers one's names. Even at our chick camps, it's always, if my name is Vineet, it's, Vast Vineet or Victorious Vineet. So that name gets connected to that adjective, that adverb then. So if my child's name is not a direct name of Bhagwan, associate a quality with Bhagwan then. And one will call out the Lord constantly. This applies for all of the samskaras. I know these first four don't apply to anyone in this room right now. We're grandparents, or we're already parents, or we don't have kids. So none of these apply. But that's not the point. The point is to take that philosophy and bring it into our lives. And when we do it, we can share it with someone else then. There's other people who are going to have kids. Share this thought with them. What a great gift one can give to another person to help them get realized. What better gift can there be? One of my close friends finished dermatology school, and his father told me, for my son, I want you to order Swami Chinmayananda's talks on Gita, the DVDs. And I was like, okay, great. Why? Your son graduated from dermatology. He'll be working a lot. Why this? And this father's honest, thoughtful response is, my son is a dermatologist now. He'll have a lot of wealth. He can buy whatever he wants, but he may not buy these DVDs. And everything else that he buys will not bring him as much happiness as the teachings from these DVDs will. All the other things he'll buy will come and grow, bring happiness, take away happiness. These DVDs will keep on giving happiness to him. That's what these samskaras are as well. We continue. The sixth samskara is nishkramana. Nishkramana. And this happens in the third month of one's birth, where the father, he chooses an auspicious day. It could be Adi Shankaracharya Jayanti, it could be Mahashivratri, any auspicious day, and they take that child outside for the first time. And what do? They show that child the sun, and later the moon. And it's amazing how they do it. They cup their hands like this, so it's almost like you're taking away everything else but the sun. And at 3 months, that child probably doesn't know what the sun is. Probably. It's not registering. But again, it's the symbolism that your focus in life, this is your focus, should be, what does the sun represent? Knowledge. That's what your focus should be. And wherever there's knowledge, then they look at the moon. And what is the moon symbolic of? That which delights. It's a source of joy. That where there's knowledge, there will be joy. This still happens. When we had our Upanayanas, and I had mine when I was 25. So think, it's supposed to happen when you're 8 or 10 or 12. I had mine when I was 25. So double, 3 times as old as I was supposed to, but it got done. And so it was like I was born for the first time. Samvidji, our Upacharya, held my hand. I'm only a few years younger than him. Takes me outside and cups his hands and says, look at the sun. How I was so moved at that time, and now I know what it means. I'm more moved by it. That it's a rebirth, a birth towards being better. And we'll study that more tomorrow about Upanayana. Where there's knowledge, there is joy. The sun and the moon. Then in the 4th month, this is still part of Nishkramana, the father or the maternal uncle, the mama, takes the child to the temple for the first time. And they don't go just for the prasad. The father takes the child to Lord Rama and Mother Sita, or Father Shiva and Mother Parvati. And the message to the child is, these are your parents. These are your parents. Find them. Your life's purpose is to find your parents. Just like in Kung Fu Panda 2, correct? The whole movie, excellent movie. Not just for kids, totally for adults as well. Please watch it, study it, use it. And his whole purpose is to find who his parents are. This is the same message. They got it from here, from the Samskaras. That's where it came from. And it's a message then, if it's a message to the child, it's also a message to the parents, that those parents are just the biological parents. This is not their child. This is Bhagwan's child, not yours. One is a caretaker. One is a custodian. One is given the opportunity to look after Bhagwan's child. That's what it means to be a parent. This is what Nishkramana teaches us. And imagine, and we shouldn't imagine because it's actually happened, like Kaushalya or Mother Yashoda, who knows temporarily that their child is the father of the universe. What is the reaction then? Really, it's in awe, and that's why Bhagwan has to go back to being a kid. What if our child is Lord Krishna? What if our child is Lord Shiva or baby Ganesha? Can we get mad at them? Can we be selfish? And on and on. Same thing with all the kids in the room, and all of us are kids to someone. Can we yell at our parents if we know that our parents have been assigned by Bhagwan to look after us? Will we neglect calling them or taking them for granted? As I think, so I become. This is Nishkramana. For the kids, for the parents, for everyone. Maybe that's why the mama takes them, that, hey, it's not just your wife's husband that's the father, you're the father too. Everyone's a father. In Niagara Falls, we started our Balvihar Satsang at 10 o'clock. And for 10 o'clock, from 10 to 10:30 is our assembly. Announcements, stories, chanting. 10:30 classes begin. So sometimes, some people come at 10:30. And they know at 10:30, if I ask them to sit down, that something is coming from my end towards them. So I ask everyone to sit down. And I tell them, your kids may not be studying here, because the people that are coming late tend to be a little bit older. Your kids may not be studying here, but don't think that you're not a parent to every kid here. They call you uncle, don't they? They call you auntie, don't they? So if you come at 10:30, where the Chinmay Mission Pledge and Arati and the announcements are not important, what kind of example is being led? You are their parents. Act like it. Be there at 10 o'clock, just like they have to be there at 10 o'clock too. So Nishkramana is teaching us that we're all a family. Let us focus on knowledge so there's joy. Let us know our relationships with each other too. The Hindi movie where Nana Patekar cuts his hand and then cuts someone else's hands and mixes the blood and says, tell me now who's Hindu and who's Muslim? Right? Our blood type doesn't say that. We choose our family. Let's choose everyone. And when we do, when we know this is a divine family, we'll act in a dharmic way. There'll be no selfishness, there'll be no anger, and on and on and on. This remembrance of these samskaras brings great peace into our lives. One of the most common questions that I'm asked, and I'm sure other acharyas are asked, is, how do I know what I'm doing is right or wrong? Right? How do I know what I'm doing is right or wrong? How do I know the person I'm with is right or wrong? How do I know the program I'm in is right or wrong? How do I know the city I'm living in is right or wrong? And so the answer to those questions are already in our scriptures. Do what the wise people have done. This is what Nachiketa shows in Kathopanishad. His father is giving these impotent cows, and Nachiketa says, did our forefathers do this? Father, look to what the wise people have done. Act in the same way. Life is not complicated. Society wants us to believe it's complicated, so we buy more things then. Right? Even that company, Life is Good, right? Yeah, life is good. You don't need to tell me that. It's become complicated because that's what we thrive on now. Like that little boy in Portland who said, hey, why is this plate on the table, right? So simple. Vividisha ji, she's a Swamini now actually, Swamini Radhananda. She's the one who's in charge of the Balavihar magazine. She had a satsang for us one evening at Jagadishwara temple. And she began by saying, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am what I think you're thinking about me. That's how many layers we've added onto our personality. That's how complex we've become. And that's the games we play then. And then we say, you have to be more mature, you have to grow up. Into what? Into this complication? Life is not complicated. Life is simple. Shastra Anusari. Live by the scriptures. Life is simple. Is life complicated for Guruji? He knows what's right and wrong. Just do it then. This is a simplicity that, Bhagwan, these are my parents. Let me find them. For the parents, my child is divine. Let me treat them like that. Nishkamana. Number 7 is Annaprashna. Annaprashna is the first time that a child eats solid food. Solid food. And this happens in the 7th month. Because the teeth have become more firm, the digestive system has become more mature, so the child is ready to eat solid foods. During this time, plants, let me rewind, water and plants are worshipped. During Annaprashna, actually worshipped. And the message behind this is that this body is a temple. When we do Anganyasa, Anga means the limbs. Karananyasa means the hands. Where I install Bhagwan in my head, on my lips, in my heart, on my shoulders, on my feet, in my eyes. Before we chant Vishnu Sahasranama, that's what we go through. Anushchup Chandaha, Shri Vishwarupo Mahavishnu Devata, and one keeps going. So now I'm not Vivek. You're not Shiva. You're not Sudita. You're not Ramita. Bhagwan is living in us now. He resides in our heart then. Avahayami, remember? That Bhagwan is living in me. I'm invoking him or her in this idol. This body is a temple. And that's why when Shiva leaves the temple, what happens to the temple then? Shava. It collapses. And it does collapse. If I died right now, I would collapse. Naturally, I would. Sharira madhyamam khalu dharma sadhanam. This body is to live dharmically. And Gurudev uses the idea of, he was asked a question about people with special needs. Whether they're maybe blind, maybe they can't think as efficiently as you and I may be able to. And Gurudev's response to that was, the less counters one has, these sense organs are counters, they're transaction venues where I interact with the world. The less counters there are, the less opportunities there are to exhaust one's vasanas. So someone with special needs still can exhaust vasanas, but they have one counter less that's opened. Like a store, if they have 5 counters, more revenue can come in, but more revenue can be lost too. It can go both ways. So they just have one less counter. We have 5 counters to clean up our personalities. Exhaust vasanas, exhaust karmas, to live that divine life. That's what this body is. And so if this body is a temple, what should my relationship be with drinks and food then? Sadhana panchakam. Hunger should be treated as a disease. Thirst is treated as a disease. And whenever I have a disease, do I take more medicine than I need? No, I only take what I need. And if we all live like that, America would not be the heaviest country in the world. And Canada wouldn't be the second heaviest. Treat hunger and thirst like a disease. This is what Adi Shankaracharya is teaching us. And we all know that no one who wants to be healthy takes more medicine than is needed. If I'm taking more medicine than is needed, it's because I want to be unhealthy. That means I don't want to take care of this temple or this body to whatever extent. And even in Adi Shankaracharya's Gita Bhasha, there in chapter 6, where Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna how to meditate, he says that person who eats too much or that person who doesn't eat at all cannot meditate. And Adi Shankaracharya says half of our stomach should be filled with solids, 1/4 with liquids, and 1/4 empty, so there's a movement of those solids and liquids. If my stomach is 100% solid, no liquid can go in there and there's no movement then. Movement only comes upwards then rather than downwards. I was at my uncle's house in Delhi, and on their almaris, people put those tacky sayings, 10 things you should do in life or 10 things that you shouldn't do and so on. One point caught my attention. It was point number 6. Rarely do we regret undereating. What an intelligent thought. We always regret overeating, but we keep doing it. Undereating we never regret, and so we never do, never do it. And it's too bad because we know where our meals are coming from. I know I'm having bhiksha afterwards, right? What is the point in overeating when I know where my meals are coming from? If I don't know I'm going to have dinner tonight, then hey, I should stock up at lunch. That's why even in India, the rule is, for breakfast, eat like a king. Lunch, eat like a normal person, like a human being. Dinner, eat like a pauper. Because there's no opportunity to exhaust that energy then. I unconsciously started practicing this because I heard this afterwards. We had to get up at 4 a.m. every day. Whether we liked it or not, that bell is going off at 4 o'clock. For those who have been to Sandipani, you know this. During the Vedanta course, at least. And I found that at night when we would eat dinner, which would start at 8:30, suppose it goes on till 9:15, you get to your room, it's 9:30, and you have to sleep at 10 if you have to get up at 6. So I was so lethargic in the morning after I'd eat dinner. The food would still be there. How can it digest if I'm just lying down? So I stopped eating dinner. After 6 months, I said, no dinner. Let's just see what happens. And then those mornings became that much more efficient. I never ate breakfast like a king because we had classes, because then Sanskrit, right? That would be even more devastating. So lunch I ate like a king. Took a nap, studied, exercised. But that's the message here. That this body is a temple. Treat hunger and water like a disease. And water and plants are worship because that's what sustains this body. Even if one eats meat, how are those animals sustained then? On plants. Everything gets boiled down to plants and water. I stayed at Shivam's house once. And at Shivam's house, one of their relatives, whenever she cooks food, she's always singing bhajans. And when one eats at Shivam's house, the food is better. Because literally, that mindset, is being transferred into that food. I eat at many people's, and everyone's house is very, very good. It's very good. I once heard a speaker say that the more one talks, the more mistakes they could make. So I have to be very careful of that. Everyone's house is wonderful food. This one stuck in my mind because I knew what she was doing while she was cooking that food too, because my room was above their kitchen. I'll give you another example. My father and mother studied in the one-year Vedanta course for 3 months. So January, February, and March, they went to Piercy to study under Swami Shantananda and Swami Ishwarananda. And so during this time, I was told to water my mother's tulsi plant. And this is on the main floor. I live in the basement with my wife. So I did exactly what she told me. Water on Mondays, water on Thursdays. And I did that, but that plant slowly deteriorated. And so when my mother would call, or I would call my mother, she'd ask, how is the tulsi plant doing? And I'd say, it's alive. But when she's there, it flourishes. And the reason is not the temperature, it's not the water, all the external parts are the same. But she's there. She's in the kitchen cooking or watching TV or listening to bhajans or whatever it is. I'm doing my own thing. So I'm not there to convey that love, you can call it, that energy, that respect, in front of my own eyes. And for those who have seen the movie, the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know About the Universe? There's a certain scene where this Japanese scientist photographs water crystals. He takes 2 test tubes of water crystals, and in one scenario, he exposes them, one to rock music and one to classical music. In another, he writes hateful words on one of the test tubes and loving words on another. In another scene, he just sits there and thinks angry thoughts towards one of the test tubes, and another one, peaceful thoughts. Then he photographs the water crystals. And all of those negative environments, they didn't form into crystals. They're asymmetrical shapes. And beauty, scientifically, is measured by symmetry. If my eyes are like this, then I'm less beautiful. But when my eyes are equal, I'm more beautiful then. Those water crystals where there was that positive influence all turned out to look like snowflakes. Total symmetry. Watch the documentary. What the bleep do we know about the universe? We watched it at Sandipani. So naturally, it wasn't just a casual documentary. Someone thought it was worthwhile and said, hey, and Guruji said, fine, let them watch. This is what water and plants do to us. So let us do the same to water and plants, which is why they're worshipped when it comes to Anna Prashna. This world is made up of 71% water. This body is a microcosm of that macrocosm. When my thoughts are pure, my body will be pure too. Let's worship both ways. Anna Prashna. Number 8 is Karna Veda. Karna Veda is where the ears are pierced. This happens in the 5th or 7th month, in between that period, where a piece of thin gold wire and that child's ears are pierced, looped around, and then cut. So that's what actually happens. Did any of you have Karna Veda? So a few people. Good. And like I was sharing a couple of days ago, I asked one of our batchmates why they have their ears pierced. Did I say this yesterday? Okay. Right? For those who weren't here, I asked one of my batchmates why his ears were pierced. And he's a wise person. And he said that it's so we know who's Hindu and Muslim. These samskaras are beyond any religion. So naturally, that wasn't the answer. Why this happens is because there's a nerve in the ear, and when that gold wire is put into the ear, it excites or triggers or stimulates that nerve, which helps the brain be more active. Now we're all thinking, what proof of that is that? Super brain yoga. Right? Isn't that what they do for super brain yoga? Massage your earlobes and go up and down. It's a punishment for us. It's an exercise for the West. But that's part of it. Massage one's earlobes to stimulate that nerve so that brain is more active. So Karna Veda, it's done perpetually then. That's the message behind that. The 9th samskara, and this is one of the most popular ones, and I think everyone in this room has gone through the 9th samskara, which is called Chuda Karana. Chuda means Viveka Chudamani. The crown, where the hair is cut. The head is shaved. And this happens between the 1st year or the 3rd year of that child's existence. So they're 1-year-old or 3-year-old. Girls and boys both have this happen. All of these samskaras are not segregated between male and female. Not even Upanayana. Every girl, every boy traditionally goes through these samskaras. Now, when they do go through Chudakarna, 3 strands are left. Yesterday, we took a group picture. Yeah, we took a group picture, and one of the Bolivar students goes, "I like your rat tail." And recently, someone told me, "I like your ponytail." So it's a rat tail, it's a ponytail. It's called a shikha. One of our Bolivar students' names is Shikha. She was there yesterday. So, shikha. It's supposed to be 3 strands. 3 strands, but it's hard to just leave 3 strands. What these 3 strands represent is one's parents, one's teachers, and the divine, Bhagwan. Parents, teachers, and Bhagwans are always supposed to be with one. All other relationships can come and go like hair does, but these 3 should stay with us always. At a deeper level, our hair represents attachment. So the more hair you have, the more attached you are. And we have our head shaved, symbolizing that one should have no attachment, but the shikha still stays. The only attachment should be to one's guru and scriptures. The only attachment. When one attains, traditionally when one becomes a sannyasi, that means they've attained enlightenment. There's 2 types of sannyas. One sannyas is as a means, one sannyas is as a ends. So traditionally, sannyas is taken as a ends, which means that one is enlightened, and that's when one shaves one's shikha off to them. Because they've become the guru, they've become the mouthpiece of the scriptures. This is so, if we think about it deeply, so powerful about Sanatana Dharma, is that the scriptures are saying, we too are relative. When you attain the absolute, you don't need us then. Chapter 2 of Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, these scriptures are as useful to a wise man, to a sthita prajna, as a well is during the time of flood. Do we need a well when there's water everywhere? No. That's how useful the scriptures are when one is attained enlightenment. Every other book, every other person saying, don't let go of me, don't let go of me, you need me. The scriptures are saying, you don't need me anymore. Let go of us. That's real power. That's real depth of Sanatana Dharma. This hair also represents, in another interpretation, as desire. And all of our desires should be let go of other than the desire for moksha. The last desire we should have is for enlightenment. And when I get enlightened, then that desire has to go too. So it gets shaved off. When we were studying, every second full moon, all the brahmacharis had to line up, and these 2 old men came in, shaved our head. And I use the word shave, but it was really they hacked our head. They'd have a cup of water there is 60 of us that studied, 2/3 were male, so 40 males, okay? 1 cup of water. And they would take that water, just a few drops, and put it in one's head and massage it around, like they're actually moistening our scalp, symbolically. And then a straight blade and that piece of leather, and they're sharpening it and then hacking away. And then and then your face too, not just your head, your face too. Then they take a bar of salt and they close those wounds. So tapas of the mind, tapas of the body. I thought to myself, I'm in this ashram now. I don't care how I look. I don't think anyone else cares how I look. This is a great opportunity for me to grow a nice big beard. For 2 years, no one's going to see me. Let me grow a beard. So I told the Nai the second time around, don't shave my face. Just shave my head. So he's just following instructions. He doesn't care. Then I remember that 4 o'clock class with Guruji, and we all went to prostrate to Guruji. He goes, oh, look, we have a mullah here, mullah here now. And then the next morning, we have Vedic chanting at 5:30. And the last 5 minutes are quiet time. So everyone's eyes are closed. Everyone's just enjoying. And Swamiji starts to say, in Vedic culture, when we shave our head, we shave our face too. So I start turning red, and everyone starts looking at me because he's obviously talking about me. So I had to walk down that walkway of shame and go to the bathroom and shave myself then. Why we shave our heads also is because the focus shouldn't be vanity. In the ashram, one is there to study, not to showcase one's beauty. Hair is considered the background to one's face. And even in a picture, when there's a background, that picture becomes more beautiful. So the idea is have no background. One's focus should not be vanity. Just study. And it makes sense. One is more efficient then. Baswant was telling me, last time he saw me, that my hair was long and curly. And I was telling Baswant, I did grow my hair for 19 months. Krishna did the same thing recently. So I grew my hair for 19 months, so it was long and curly, and then I shaved it all, and I donated 9 inches of hair for them to make a wig, because certain people who have cancer, then they lose their hair through the treatment. During that time, I empathize greatly with people who have long hair. It is tough. For those who've never had long hair, you don't know how tough it is. I'll never do it again. Because when you don't have any hair, it's faster, it's quicker, you get in, you get out. It has nothing to do with the samskaras. Just know that the focus was not vanity. And in our life too, let vanity not be the focus. For those who came on the Chinmaya Inspiration Yatra, I told them, you're here for 20 days, stop looking at the mirror. Stop wearing deodorant. If you don't want to wear shoes, don't wear shoes. Forget about your body. Because here it's the exact opposite. Focus on your body. Most of their commercials are about stuff we can eat, or stuff we can wear, or stuff we can do to the body. So for 20 days, I said, forget about all that, be free. One of our chicks, she flew from Pune to Mumbai, to Delhi, to Chicago without shoes on. Not till she got to Chicago because there was snow on the ground did she put shoes on. Right? There's no need for that vanity. Who cares what people are saying? Be free. And our 10th samskara is Akshara Abhyasa, or Vidya Rambam. Let's do a quick review. 9. What was the first one? First samskara? Nice and loud. Nice and loud. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Nishkramana. Number 7. Annaprashna. Number 8. Karnaveda. Number 9. Chudakarna. Number 10 is Akshara Abhyasa or Vidya Rambam. And many people, I think, do this. I'll be honest, I never went through any of these thus far, other than Chudakarna. And my parents didn't know why they were doing it. My grandparents said to do it, so that's why it was done. But that doesn't mean that I'm not moved by these statements now, despite not having done any of these. Akshara Abhyasa is when a child learns about the aksharas. Akshara means alphabet. Sanskrit is a beautiful language, and I think we have one of our mission members here in Frederick has a PhD in Sanskrit. She teaches sometimes. So if you are that person, good for you. If you want to study, please go to her. The word akshara means indestructible. Akshara, Brahman. That's what Lord Krishna uses that term. If I have a book, imagine this is a book. This book can be divided into pages. Pages can be divided into paragraphs, paragraphs into sentences, sentences into words, words into letters, but letters cannot be divided any more. That's why they are called akshara. They are indestructible. Such depth to the language. Like, what does alphabet mean? But akshara, so much meaning. The word arbudam, this is where the Hindi word Arab came from. Arab means billion. Arbudam means billion. So billion or billions. It's also a word for cancer. Cancer is called arbudam. And the idea is that a cancerous cell just keeps on growing, right? It's uncontrolled. See the connection? The depth of the Sanskrit language? So akshara. One studies the alphabets. Why does one study the alphabets? To know akshara. That's why. Don't just study the alphabets just for the sake of studying. It's to know Brahman. To realize Brahman is why languages needed to be studied. Our rishis knew that parents are going to teach their kids about objective sciences. They will. That's how transaction takes place. But will a parent teach their child about a subjective science? So let this be a message to the parents and to the child. Focus on that subjective science. That's why the first word that the child spells is Om. First word is Om. How do they do it? They take a bed of rice or wheat, and then an acharya or a grandfather, a wise person in the family, helps that child write Om with a golden pen. With a golden pen, they're instructed to write Om. This should be, again, the focus of one's life, to find Om, to merge oneself in Om. I was in school for 18 years. Catholic school, public school, business school, studied in Europe too. Online, I did one online class. In those 18 years, not once did any of my teachers ask me if I was happy. 18 years. Not once did a teacher tell me what the purpose of life was. I learned about derivatives. I learned about congruent triangles. I learned about business models. I learned about LIFO and FIFO. But if I'm not happy, who cares then? When one is happy, it doesn't matter what one has or doesn't have. They're happy. When one is unhappy, same goes. It doesn't matter what one has or what one doesn't have. One is unhappy. People often say, my philosophy in life is eat, drink, and be merry. Such people are called Charvakas. Charvakas mean they only believe what their senses tell them. Materialists, pure materialists. So if their senses tell them something, they get it. So if someone says, hey, is the sky blue? If you ask a Charvaka, what would they say? Yes, because their senses are telling them it's blue, but the air is not blue. So what kind of school of thought is that? So Guruji says to this, even to eat and drink, one still needs peace of mind to enjoy that. When I'm agitated and I'm eating something, how good is that food then? If I'm rattled or sad and I'm drinking a glass of water, how good is that water then? Even to eat and drink, one has to be merry. That's when that eating and drinking becomes worthwhile. So I have so much information on how to fill my wallet up with money, but if I drop my wallet, how will I retain my peace? Or if I find a wallet, what am I supposed to do with it? That's what Sandipani taught me. Taught me what the purpose of life is, taught me the importance of being happy, and so that education that I had that was like this, which was incomplete, was completed through Vedanta. The importance of Balavihar cannot be overemphasized, never overemphasized. Chick, same way, even for the adults. Is our education complete? Is there Ram Raja? Am I secularly prosperous? Am I spiritually prosperous too? If yes, then I don't just have information or not just knowledge, I have wisdom then. This is the reason we studied Sanskrit at the ashram. It's not so we can talk in Sanskrit. It's not so we can tell people we studied Sanskrit. It's so we can study our scriptures. Like the game of telephone that kids sometimes play. One message goes to the next, and who knows what kind of message is brought out then. But if one goes to the source of the scriptures, in the language the scriptures are written, then the chances of misinterpretation is less than. One can still get realized in Spanish, or French, or English, but our scriptures are written in Sanskrit, so the chances are that's the purest form of study. After this Om is written in that rice or wheat, that's cooked and offered to Bhagwan. Not to the kid first, to Bhagwan. And it's called Naivedyam. And when Naivedyam is offered, what does it transform into? Prasad. And prasad is that which delights. Anything that's offered to Bhagwan, that Naivedyam turns into prasad. Even if it's anger. If I get so mad at Bhagwan, why did you do this to me? Even that will turn into prasad. Like Shishupal, correct? Ravana could not stop thinking about Lord Rama. He never took his name, but could not stop thinking about him. And so at the end of his life, where did he go? To Lord Rama. So even anger, jealousy, hatred, that turns into prasad. Naturally, love and devotion and bhakti will. Bhagavan turns all of that to prasad, that which delights. This is what we look forward to when we go to temples, right? What prasad is there? Here, prasad is perpetually being given. Because where there's knowledge, there is joy. Perpetually. This is a symbolism behind why we say Hari Om as well. In Niagara Falls, we have a lot of Gujarati people who are part of Chinmay Mission, and they don't like saying Hari Om. They only like to say Jai Shri Krishna. And so whenever they say Jai Shri Krishna, I say it very slowly and very accurately, Hari Om. But I explained to him why we say Hari Om too. It's the same message. Hari means a thief. The one who steals, that is the word Hari. Hari is also a name of Lord Vishnu. So when I call out to Lord Vishnu, Hari, I'm asking that thief to come. So what do I want that thief to come and steal? My ignorance. And when that ignorance is gone, what remains then? Oh. That's why we chant. That's why we greet each other with Hari Om. Even these casual affairs, there's such depth to it. Right? We say Namaste. That I'm saluting the divinity in you and me is the same. Now even yoga teachers are doing the same too. Namaste, Shanti, 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 right? It's fine. One can still have peace saying Shanti or Shanti. It's the same, the message is the same. But the depth to all of these experiences. As I was saying, that our scriptures have made living very simple. Lord Krishna has said that there's 5 types of karma. There is Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, Kamya karma, Nishiddha karma, and Prayashchit karma. In English, our daily duties, special duties, selfish actions, prohibited actions, and atonement actions. These are the 5. Lord Krishna says, don't focus on the last 3, just focus on the first 2. If you focus on the first 2, you will be happy. Do your daily duties, do your special duties. Daily duties, going to work, eating, etc. Special duties, going to a wedding, going to a funeral. Do that. Rather than kamya karma, where I'm doing something for myself. Nishiddha karma. And what is prohibited? At a fundamental level, that which is prohibited is that which is against the scriptures. We would equate it to that which is illegal at a more gross level. Don't do that which is illegal. And what Swami Sarupananda had said, and this is really moving. How do you know what you're doing is good or bad? If you wouldn't do it in front of your guru, or your grandparents, or your parents, know that it's bad. If you would do whatever you're doing in front of your guru, in front of your grandparents, in front of your parents, then know that is the good thing to do then. That's why Shastra Anusari. Live a life that Anusari means with the scriptures. Life is simple then. What do I know if I'm doing what is right or wrong? They know what is right or wrong. They've given a map. What are the scriptures? It is the life and teachings of those who know. So they know, and they've drawn up a map, like a treasure map. Someone hits a treasure and then they draw that treasure map and put it in a bottle and throw it. You come too. This is the same way. They found Ananda. Where was it? Themselves. So they put a map together. Study Gita, study the Upanishads, go through the Samskaras. One can be just as joyous. Then every action we do will be done well. When we eat pizza, we always tell the pizza person, well done, right? Indians love their pizza, well done. Our actions should be well done too. Every one of our experiences has three factors: the experiencer, experiencing, and the experienced. It's called the Triputi. The experienced we know. Okay, imagine I'm eating some ice cream. The experienced I know. This is Cherry Garcia. The experiencing I know too, as that ice cream hits my tongue and I'm thinking about it. What about the experiencer? Do I know who I am? Do I know who the experiencer truly is? Is it my weight? Because the last 2 days I've gained some weight. Is that who I am? Is it my address? Because now I'm in Frederick. Is it the length of my hair? Who am I? And that's why our scriptures have said, unless we know all three aspects of this, no experience is complete. Because one part is missing. I don't know who the experiencer is. I know the experiencing, I know the experienced. So how many of my experiences are complete? When a master eats a piece of carrot cake, they eat the carrot cake, they're there. When they finish the carrot cake, that experience is done. When you and I eat a piece of carrot cake, after the first bite, we're already thinking, when can I have carrot cake again? I better get a second piece before someone else takes. I have to eat this one fast so I get another piece. I know this because when we were in the ashram, because Guruji was there was a lot of weddings. And naturally, everyone wants Guruji to be at their wedding. Totally natural. But if you have a wedding at Sandipni, that means you have to not just feed your guests, you have to feed the ashramites too. You have to feed the brahmacharis, you have to feed the brahmacharinis. So every time when there was a wedding and there'd be a paneer dish, whoever was last never got any paneer. Everyone would just, I don't need any of the gravy, just give me the paneer, give me the paneer, right? But with a master, it's complete. Mine was there, carrot cake was experienced, keep moving. For us, it's not complete. We're already planning the next time that we'll have that experience. Our samskaras are taking us from outside inside. Till finally, Antyeshti, on our last day when we study death. The purpose is, now my body consciousness should have died. I'm born as a jiva, I should die as Brahman. I'm born, so I'm a jiva. This is who am I? Who I am. Who am I to lie about that? If you cut my leg, I'm going to be hurt. I'm going to identify with that. But by the time I die, if I've acted well, which means I've thought well, I should die as Brahman. This is an urgent matter. There's consultants in the room, there's professors in the rooms, there's home people in the room. Half the people in here work for some sort of IT company. We all have deadlines. A lot of people are in school too. We have deadlines. Deadlines for applications, deadlines for mortgages, deadlines for when we have to get out of this room. Deadlines. We also have another deadline called death. This is a more precarious deadline because I don't know when this deadline is. I know when the mortgage at Chinmay Dhara is due. I know when the deadline for boarding my flight to Buffalo is due. But I don't know the deadline of when Vivek is no longer going to be breathing and that heart is not going to pump anymore. Which means I should only have one focus right now, and that is to know who I am. I need to become to such a state where I no longer fear death. And so no longer fear birth. And when I do, I won't die then. I won't be born. But I have to do it now. In Mississauga, we're studying some intense shlokas, Shivam was there recently, of Gita, shloka 11 to 30, where Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, the wise don't grieve. Arjuna, you don't deserve to grieve. And he's giving a lot of ideas behind that. So what we've started doing in Mississauga is thinking about it outside of the classroom. One of their assignments was writing their own eulogy. A eulogy is when one passes away, then someone speaks about that parted person. What if I have to write my own eulogy? And if I have to do it, I have to be honest with myself. See, the idea is not, okay, I'm writing a eulogy for everyone to know. He was the best guy, he had so many friends, he was best at sports. No, a eulogy which I'll read in the mirror for myself. That's what one should do, because that's when one will be most honest. And in that, I will find a lot of strengths I have, I will find a lot of weaknesses, which then becomes the map or the plan for me to correct those while I'm alive then. This is the importance of thinking about this deadline. I need to die as Brahman. At which point it's just conversation then. If I die as Brahman, I'm just saying that. I don't die then. The concluding thought for today before we do our Q&A. When we were on our yatra, we met Swami Ramakrishnananda at CIF. And Ramakrishnananda Swamiji is... he's the one who designed the Sulabha Sanskrit course, the online Sanskrit course. And he had done a satsang for us where he explained the significance of a coconut. Now, many people in this room are South Indians, so you love coconuts. And we use coconuts for our pujas just so we can have some sort of chutney that we're going to eventually make, right? So that's why we have these coconuts. But that's not why one has coconuts in one's puja. The coconut is our equipment. If one takes a raw coconut, all of those fibers are around the shell. Those are our tamasic and rajasic thoughts. Our thoughts that are scattered here and there. So what we need to do is take them off and discard them. One by one, keep on peeling them away and discard them. Swami Ramakrishnananda, he was taking them and throwing them on the ground. He was saying, throw them away. But the only way to do that, if I have to take all these thoughts off, I still need to hold on to something. So all of those hairs going upward on the top of the coconut, those are sattvic thoughts. Hold on to those sattvic thoughts and take off the rajasic and the tamasic ones and dispose of them. Then when all of the useless thoughts are gone, I hold on to those sattvic thoughts, and what do? I smash that coconut then. That coconut is our ego. And every person has an ego. All that differs is the density of that ego. Some have a thick one, some have a thin one. Some need to get hit again and again and again and harder and harder and harder. Some people don't. Just one hit, got it. And when that coconut is broken, what's inside? Immortality. That's what's inside. Now, at any point, was immortality not in that coconut? Immortality was always there, but we didn't know it as long as that ego is covering that immortality. You and I can't die unless we're going to believe we're going to die. If we have knowledge, we'll know that we can't die. We'll focus on immortality was there, immortality is here, immortality always will be there. And that coconut can only be broken at the altar of the divine. We do it at our altar, we do it at the ashram. For those who have been to Sabrimala, there's that wall where you throw those coconuts. Right? When I was there, people were just trying to break the coconut as fast as they could, but nobody knew what was going on. Why? Why not watermelons? Right? Eat watermelons too. But our rishis have thought about all of this, just like our samskaras. As we continue to study the remaining samskaras, starting with Upanayana tomorrow, we'll spend a lot of time studying this. It is one of the most important samskaras. Let us be open-minded towards this. Because some may be thinking, you're looking into this too much. These samskaras don't mean that. Just be open-minded about it. Don't close the door. Don't have to open the door either. Just let whatever is going to come through, come through. Because I know in time, this will all make sense. That's the guarantee our rishis put out there, which is why they share these thoughts. All right. The last 15 minutes, we have less than 15 minutes. Any questions from anyone? I'll get to yours shortly. The gentleman who was here yesterday, whose question I couldn't address, he's not here today. He told me that. He said that these samskaras that you're talking about, his interpretation of samskaras that he's read is that they're bad, that they're negative. And so I clicked in my mind that he's talking about them as vasanas, because vasanas are sometimes called as karmas or samskaras. So I told him, yes, that also, samskara, it's a correct word. These samskaras are positive thoughts and actions to release oneself from bondage. The samskaras that you're studying, that you've read, those are samskaras we do want to get rid of. It's almost like these samskaras get rid of negative samskaras. It's one thorn taking out another thorn. Everyone's clear about that? So samskaras for him, he was equating it to vasanas. And I told him, by self-unfoldment, you'll understand more about what vasanas are. Yes, Dev. Define the ego? Sure. The question is, can you define the ego? Technically, the ego, which is equated to all synonyms, maya, ignorance, delusion, all of those are synonyms, avidya. The expression of the ego is separation. Separation is the expression of ego. Once that separation is there, a whole flood of negative and positive emotions can come in. I can love you, I can hate you, I can be scared of you, I can be devoted to you. But if there's only oneness, none of that can be there. Even the word service implies duality. Even the word love implies duality. This word tolerance clearly points out duality. So ego, technically, going back to what I was saying, is cannot be defined. A nirvachaniya is what maya is. It's inexplainable. Because if my nature is oneness, then where did the ego come from? If my nature is light, where did darkness come from? If my nature is knowledge, how did ignorance come? How does a snake ever come from that rope? It's just not possible. But here we are, experiencing separation. So it is incomprehensible, a nirvachaniya. And like I was just saying, when I first heard this statement in Tattvabodha, when Guruji said Maya is indefinable, I was like, that's a big cop-out. Like, they can't answer it, so they said, okay, nobody can answer it. But after finishing Tattvabodha, studying it again, studying Vivek Chudamani again, it took me 4.5 years to understand one word. Till one day I realized, yes, this is a nirvachaniya. It's not possible to define the ego. What one can do is define the expressions of the ego, and that's where I'm sharing its separation. That is ego. A superiority complex is ego, an inferiority complex is also ego. And so the idea is, go back to the source. And that animated movie, which some of you may have watched, it's called Nine, where the scientist gives up his soul. He knows that the whole world is burning down, so he takes parts of his soul and puts them in these puppets, into 9 different puppets. And then the scientist dies. And these puppets are all born and they don't know what to do, just like you and I, like jivas. So beautifully this movie is made. And one puppet just keeps on saying, go back to the source, go back to the source, go back to the source. And that is where the scientist gave up his soul to these puppets. And when they know that, they become free. So for you and I too, we have to go back to the source, which is that Advaita Vedanta, that Advaita Brahman. Now, this could be confusing because Gurudev knows this, which is why he said, think Advaita, live Dvaita. Because it's not possible to function in the material world as Advaita. I have to love you, I have to serve you, you have to go to the girls' bathroom, I have to go to the boys' bathroom. That Dvaita has to be recognized, but up here it doesn't though. At Chinmayadhara, we have Lord Krishna's Murti and Bhagavati Radha. These eyes know that that's marble. How can these eyes not know that that's marble? But the mind doesn't see marble. The mind sees a conduit for Bhagwan. That's the way that one has to live Dvaita, but know the vision is Advaita. And even all of our masters, Gurudev, he was different than Guruji is. That expression is different. But in here, all the same. Adi Shankaracharya's realization, Bhagavan Vedvyasa's realization, Swami Vivekananda's realization, our realization, all the same. How we express it will differ. Any other questions? Yes. Nice and loud, please.
So it's basically back home, like when you were growing up, let's say you make mistakes, parents beat us, things like that. Here it's a confusion whether people should give the kids because that's not how they see outside. It's always a confusion we live with. One thing at home, kids will complain about that. Do you have any?
Sure. The strongest power in the world is love. One of Lord Hanumanji's Ashtasiddhi. So the Ashtasiddhi of Hanumanji is to make himself light, to make himself tall, to make himself heavy, Garima, Anima, mindful living. We had talked about this last year. So one of them is Vashishtva. I think that's what it's called. I may be mispronouncing it, which means control over everyone. And Vashitwa, whatever it is. So Guruji explained this as the only way to control another person is to drown them in love. Because if they're drowned in love, they can't help but reach out to whoever's drowning them in that love. Go with that strategy. Go with that game plan. Go with that vision that I need to give complete love to the child, to one's wife, to one's grandparents, to one's co-workers. That complete love. Because through discipline, it's temporary. Teaching through discipline, controlling through discipline is temporary. Through love is a permanent solution. So find ways to give more love. How one does it is totally up to oneself. We all express love in different ways. So I'm not going to give a specific model on how to do that. I'll give two more insights into that. When President Obama gave his inaugural address in 2009, he was already made president, so he gave his inaugural address. We did a discussion on just his speech. And as we concluded, I asked everyone there, I said, would America be better if they released 5,000 more police officers throughout the country? Or if they released 5,000 more good teachers, inspirational teachers, positive teachers? What would America be better with? And the unanimous response was, America will be better in the short term with the police officers, and long term with the teachers. The police officers will instill fear into people that you shouldn't break the laws. The teachers will instill inspiration in people not to break the law. So one is coming from down up, one is coming from up down. So we should focus on that love, and I'll give one more incident about this. Ravana and Rama were both great. Ravana was great too. He was a great devotee, a scholar. He had so many siddhis. Now the difference between them was Ravana was great because he brought everyone else down. Lord Rama was great because he brought everyone else up, including those squirrels, including Sugriva, Vibhishana, Tara, Mandodari, everyone he brought up, which shows his greatness. So for us too, our children, when they misbehave, don't abide by what we want to, etc., keep on raising them up. Keep on lifting them up. That will be long-term, permanent greatness. And that love demands patience because it's long-term. Like exercise, right? We all want diets. How do I lose 5 pounds in 5 seconds? That's what I want. But if I'm told I'm going to lose 5 pounds in 5 months, oh, I don't want that. But if I lose 5 pounds in 5 days, 5 days later I'm going to get 6 pounds. But if I lose 5 pounds in 5 months, I'm going to keep it off then. So discipline is a short-term solution. Love is a long-term solution. Let that be our lighthouse on how to live. Take one more question. Yes? Sure. When one takes, the question is, why do some of our acharyas have the Ananda attached to their name? When one takes Brahmachari Diksha, they take a formal initiation into the path of renunciation. It's a formal initiation. Then they change their name from their birth name. And in our tradition, I can speak about Chinmay Mission. I can't speak about any other organization because it's subjective. It's not objective. They're given a name by Guruji, and then Chaitanya becomes their last name. So, for example, Sujay, Chaitanya, one of my batch names. His name was so long ago. Okay, I'll give you another example. One of my batch mates' name was Saraswati, and then her name was changed into Shruti. Okay, Saraswati, whatever her last name was, is now Shruti Chaitanya. When one takes sannyas diksha, which means now that they've formally been initiated into renunciation, not into the path of renunciation. Now they've become renunciants. So again, they change their name, where Guruji gives that person a name, and their last name becomes Ananda then. The idea is that one is more evolved in their spiritual path. And so from Chaitanya to Ananda, it shows that evolution. For you and I too, we know awareness more than we know joy in our lives. I know I'm aware. It's dark outside. I know the time. But do I know Ananda? But the more mature I become, the more evolved I become, the more I know Ananda too. To this point, when I was in the ashram, I said that all of the brahmacharis who were studying, they should have the last name as Sat. Right? If you're going to have Chaitanya and Ananda, you should put Sat too. So all of us, change one's last name and make it Sat. We should call each other Sat. That existence we know, and it becomes that fuel to become Chaitanya, to become Ananda. So this is the tradition behind all of this. And now, how does one become a brahmachari to a sannyasi? Guruji decides. Once Guru decides when one is ready to take sannyas diksha. It's not a certain amount of years. Many people, since Swami Dhirananda is a local acharya here, Swami Dhirananda, Swami Swarupananda, Swami Vimalananda, Swami Shivpriyananda, Swami Nikhilananda, they were all in the same batch. They all studied in Guruji's. Guruji was the acharya the first time he taught in Mumbai. All of them received sannyas diksha in different years, I believe. Because it's Guruji or Gurudev, whoever is close to that person, and now they have to go through Guruji, who says that this person is ready for sannyas. Guruji meets with them. If he feels they're ready, they have a discussion. Some people say no. One of Guruji's batchmates, he's the acharya in Ernakulam. His name is Atma Chaitanya. He's not taken sannyas diksha, though he's been an acharya for decades. But he's not taken sannyas diksha. I'm told because he wants to take sannyas diksha when he's enlightened, like as traditionally is done. That it's an ends and not a means. So in Chinmay Mission's tradition, then Guruji decides all of this. And it points to the need of subjective development. Biological age and spiritual age have nothing to do with each other. Nothing. It is a subjective experience. Even in my own case, I found out that I was an Acharya, whatever that means, when I was at Rajaji's house. I was watching TV with Janavi, and my father called me and said, Guruji's in Piercy right now, and he said that you've become an Acharya. I didn't even know about it. We didn't have a meeting or anything like that. I was just studying and meeting some people. So it is a subjective growth that one's guide gauges. We shall continue tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll take up Upanayana. Tomorrow will be Vivaha as well. So now we're getting into the samskaras that deal with you and I more on the stage we are at in life. So we'll see you tomorrow. We'll conclude with our prayer, then you can make your announcements.